Welcome back to another episode of Seeming Pie with Lauren and Tucker. I am Lauren.
And I'm Tucker.
And it's the first episode of 2023. There was a brief moment where I thought about saying 2024, but I think trying to predict everything that would happen in 2023 wouldn't have been worth it.
Try anyway.
All right, so a year from today, I think Joe Biden is dead. Kamala Harris is president now. War in Ukraine is still happening. Young Gravy has officially slept with Kamala Harris by this point.
Has he unofficially? And also, who is Young Gravy?
I'm not familiar with the work of Young Gravy. I don't know if he works in TV dinners or in rap music, but apparently he has a thing for people's moms. And when Kamala Harris becomes president, and I know this is how it should be when women take positions of power, but like she'll be like America's mom, and like, duh. So a real JFK Marilyn Monroe of our times.
Of course.
Or would it be Pete Davidson?
Ooh, he's pretty high up. He slipped his way to the top.
He did. He really did. And it's a thing I think about because, like, I do understand the appeal to garbage men, both the sanitation engineer and just the overall appearance. But I've never like put it together for Pete Davidson, and
yeah. So that is fascinating. How did that happen? Is he actually just that smooth? There's no way, right?
Like, in Roger Rabbit, there is a scene where Eddie Valiant asks Jessica Rabbit why she's with Roger, and she does just say, "He makes me laugh, okay?" And like, and Pete's even talked about it, because they would always talk about like him and Ariana Grande, and they'd be like, "Man, what is she doing with you?" And she had that like aside in her song that he had a big dick. And he pointed out in his stand-up, she's like 5'2", so her sense of proportions are way off.
Totally off. Yeah, no, that's fair. I forgot all about Ariana Grande.
It's kind of nice, isn't it? To just
but it's to just forget about her sometimes. I mean, and it's also fairly well documented that Kim Kardashian doesn't have high standards. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he just, he's just good at finding people with low enough standards.
And that has to be annoying. Like, even just like if you decide to go to lunch with someone, people automatically assume you've been like talking for weeks and that you've been dating for as long. But at the same time, I'm just like, yeah. And I mean, like, it's like dating coworkers, I guess, or people who work at the same company but in different departments. So you're not actually working with them.
Yeah. I don't even. It's kind of a miracle, and I think he's just kind of along for the ride. Like, I think he's just tripping and falling into these women, and it's just, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the men that we decide to like fawn over online is fascinating. I'm always interested to see like who the new archetype is and if it appeals to me or not, if I decide to participate. Because like for a while it was Timothée Chalamet. And the thing is I don't even think he's younger than me at this point, but he comes across as younger than me, and I'm like, I would break you in half, and what would we talk about? Like,
yeah, no, that's true. What would you say the current archetype is?
That is a good question. I do think we're still in the garbage man phase, with I think his name is Jeremy Allen White, winning for The Bear. I think people are still really into that. I think the big boy craze is still going on if SZA's guest appearance on SNL is anything to go on. But and it depends on the sphere, right? Because in literature, in like the book talk bookstagram sphere, there's a very dedicated percentage of the population that like sees red flags as a positive. Like if it's in fiction, they want the nastiest man I've ever encountered, where they're like, we've surpassed, like every once in a while I'll see like a reel where we have surpassed like, you know, BDSM, where we're into full like breath play and death kinks, and I'm like, my goodness, relax. Like,
Yikes, that's
like, can we have dreams about our college advisors like normal people?
Yikes.
Do you ever have dreams about your college advisor?
My college advisor started out as Dr. Graves. If you remember, he was a very old man who died while we were still at Rose. So
Yeah.
so that would have been weird. And then afterwards, I guess if I swung that way, he would have been kind of, he would have been all right. But
Yeah, that's part of my problem. Is every once in a while I'm like, that's fine. But like, I'm married at this point, and so every time I go to bed and I'm like, hey, you know, it'd be cool. Let's just have a nice, you know, romantic getaway vacation dream with my husband, and my brain says yes. However, I've left your college advisor VHS just a little bit out, so my hand hit it first. So I'm gonna play it again, and I'm like, if it were a dream about being late for some conference and oh my gosh, the conference is today and I haven't written my paper at all, that'd be fine. But the fact it isn't, I'm like, what unresolved feelings do I have? A, and B, how do we resolve these? Because I don't, it means nothing. I know it means nothing, because this kind of like, there's no like, ooh, if you're dreaming about them, they can't sleep. I'm like, I hope that's not the case. This man teaches classes. I hope he's not awake if I'm having dreams about him. That's not what I want. But the things that our brain chooses to latch onto, every once in a while I'm like, what's the deal here? Why?
I totally get that. For a long time, from like, you know, I guess the entire time I was a teenager, and even a little bit before that, I don't like sleeping, mainly because of what I dream about, and it's less about content and more about realism. They're so frighteningly real. Yeah. But it's fascinating how content is picked, and it's double interesting, because we don't fully understand that yet, right? It's possible that we never will understand it, but it does make sense sometimes. There are like, if you're like, you know, really deep into something, like, you know, you've been doing something nonstop for days, obviously it's going to make sense. I swear to God, when I was doing that calculus camp, I fell out of bed because I thought I was following gradient descent. Like, I was on the bottom bunk, so I'm still alive, but you start dreaming about derivatives, but of course that applies to a whole bunch of things. But for just normal day-to-day stuff, I could be horribly outdated on this, but the model of like how we dream what we dream, I believe has something to do with memory consolidation, because memory consolidation happens when you sleep. Well, it happens all the time, but it happens a lot when you sleep. And the prefrontal cortex of your brain is asleep. Like, it's actually asleep. And this is the part that actually makes sense of the world. It's able to weave together narrative and story based on what you are perceiving. And while you're consolidating memory, you're kind of sort of perceiving those memories as they're being, like, you know, reorganized and reformatted and things like that. So dreams can be weird because those things are kind of flashing across your brain, but there's nothing to make sense out of them. So they feel real while you're there, but once you think about what you experienced, you know, but what's also incredibly fascinating is that sometimes, some more often than not, you can remember your dreams. Yes. So while you're doing something with memory over here, you're also still recording what you experience over here, which you're not supposed to do while you sleep. Because and I've tried hard many days to remember to fall asleep, like, or remember what it feels like to fall asleep. Do you ever remember falling asleep?
Not really. No.
Mm-mm. No.
No.
Memory recording just stops. Like, you're still aware, but your memory recording just stops. So it's fascinating that you can remember dreams. Where do those memories come from? I don't know. And this is like, everything is so abstract in its composition in I assume not just the human brain, but for the reductive the human brain.
Yeah, because it's, I guess with the like remembering dreams part, it's almost like your brain is like, whatever's happening here, this is great. It's kind of like when you finally get into the groove of writing something really good, and you're like, I'm gonna actually save this and rework it, because otherwise you're just saving it and deleting it on your notes app.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there have been some cool dreams, and I used to write them down a lot, but then it just kept developing a pattern that I would just have romantic interactions with people who weren't my husband in my dream. And I know that it happens, like, you'll see jokes about people, being mad because their spouse cheats on them in the dream. And I'm like, but that's me. I'm the spouse cheating on someone, and it's happening in the dream. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why?
No, I mean, it happens, but it's interesting when you don't have any. I mean, most times you don't have any control of your dream. Have you ever lucid dreamed?
I don't believe I have. I think I've definitely like had dreams that bordered on nightmares, and after a point I could feel myself in my dream being like, no, this is a dream, this is fake. Yeah. And so after that point, there's kind of like a tension release, and we'll just kind of play out the end in a very abrupt Benny Hill sort of way. Mm-hmm. We'll bulldoze the city, we'll lose all the children, but we'll quit and it'll be fine. Yeah. Have you ever lucid dreamt?
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you what the scary part is. First off, that experience that you just described, coming to realize that it's a dream, that's your prefrontal cortex waking up, because it's starting to try to make sense of things that are happening, and it's like, wait, no, this is dumb. There's no way, right?
Yeah.
But so, and I never intend to, and it's usually at a place where you just don't want to. I've had experiences where I've woken up multiple times from the same nap, but it's really just I'm waking up again and again in a dream. And it's God, I don't even. And and that's the problem with realism. It's you feel the thing with Inception. You can't tell it's a dream, right?
Yeah.
Until you wake up, like there will be things that are different, things that once you wake up don't seem are implausible, but it's just the details that are wrong, not any sort of like bad physics or anything like that. And that's another reason I don't like taking naps, is because of the dreams are just just because I'm not in such a deep sleep. All that to say, what is it trying, like, do dreams actually say something about you? Are dreams trying to say, because there's a whole like pseudoscience about what dreams are trying to say. Is it random, or is it actually about something? There's something else in your brain, another structure perhaps, that is trying to weave a narrative and solve a problem. Some part of your prefrontal cortex that isn't actually asleep.
I could see that. I could see that there's a problem, either real or kind of just a fixation that you have. Because I think everyone has fixations that probably derive from just things we didn't experience in childhood or adolescence, but we still really wanted to. Or even just we wonder if we missed something by not participating in those things. And even if those things are like good or bad, I think our brain just wants to like go through those thought exercises. Like, I guess in some ways kind of like watching a movie for the cathartic experience without having to go through it, to have the visceral understanding without having to actually go through something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with, like, it's not necessarily science because it's hard to get repeatable dreams, so it's really hard to test things. But I do think there's something to it in some capacity.
Yeah. Have you ever talked to yourself in a dream?
Um, I don't know that I've talked to myself. Allegedly, I have talked in my sleep before. My college roommate said I tried to talk to my sleep. I don't know that I have recently. Um, do you ever experience like trying to read things? I've heard that trying to read things is virtually useless in dreams, where the text is either backwards or nonsensical.
Yeah, it's like an AI generated it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like clocks. It's impossible to look at clocks and tell time in dreams.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
Which I do recall like trying to do that in a dream, and every time I would pick something up, it's just blank, which sometimes makes me wonder if I don't have a strong visualization. Like some people, if you say what is an apple, they'll either just think of the word apple or they'll be able to like fully visualize something, and I'm never sure where I am on that front. I think sometimes it just throws up like, those DK Discovery Kids images of apples where it's just like perfect in every way,
Yeah.
but it's flat. But I don't know.
Fascinating. There was also that, and I have to look this up because I don't fully remember the context of this, but there was that period of time after TV came out where people just started dreaming in black and white.
Ooh,
And
that would make sense.
maybe if I could spell things right. Dreaming in black and white.
That's kind of cool. I don't know that I've ever dreamed in black and white, but I'm also not sure that I've ever dreamed in color. I think that's where my dream extent is I know I dreamed and I can tell you what it was, but what it looked like.
You can't remember
It's like-
scenes?
Yeah, it's like trying to put back together an image that's quickly dissipating into liquid.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to remember it like almost immediately, otherwise it will go away. I always find that I remember them in the shower, and if I don't like actually try to commit them to memory, they will go away. Which in some cases is good. Yes, TV influences your dreams. Studies from 1915 through the 1950s suggests that the vast majority of dreams are black and white. But the tides turned in the 60s, and later results suggested that up to 83% of dreams contain some color. Since this period also marked the transition between black and white film and TV widespread technicolor, an obvious explanation was that the media had been priming the subject's dreams, but differences between the studies prevented researchers from drawing any firm conclusions.
Oh yeah, priming. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because priming
this
was
is,
really big when all of the TikTok kids discovered daydreaming for the first time.
What's that?
Oh, did you not hear? Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with the term shifting, and I'm not on TikTok, but I do occasionally watch videos of people talking about TikTok things, where it was a bunch of like 15 to 17, younger maybe, like 14 to 17-year-olds who were like convinced they went to some sort of fictional universe and they lived like a full set of experiences, and they would wake up and be devastated because they wanted to go back. And so they would like set the stage, they would like prime themselves, they would write out everything they wanted to happen, basically like a script, and then they would go to sleep and shift or like force themselves to lucid dream or give them sleep paralysis if they weren't careful, to experience all of these things. And they cited a study done by the CIA of the CIA looking into these things, not confirming its existence, but they were like, this is the proof. This is real. And people are like, you're daydreaming or you're lucid dreaming. You're using your imagination. And like, it is funny. It's fully funny. But it's also a little sad to know that they're like, they care that much about their imagination.
If true, would be cool. Definitely not true, though.
Sure.
0% chance. Unfortunate, though. I mean, because it would be really nice to, be able to be, more or less productive in your sleep.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's a third of your time.
Yes.
Or at least it's, at least it's supposed to be. But Yeah, so yeah, that would be. I wonder. Do you think humanity? Definitely not in our lifetime. Probably not for generations. But do you think humanity will get to the point where they can control their dreams using electrical impulses? There's already research going on into trying to image dreams.
I think so.
Yeah. Do you? I mean,
Yeah.
that would be pretty cool. That would be pretty awesome. You just
I do
preload a
think it
movie.
would be cool, yeah. Well, and especially when it's like there are so many people who have like night terrors or they do have sleep paralysis, if this could be a way to almost like defibrillator that away, I think people would jump at the opportunity. The question will be if we'll be able to get it without ads or if that's premium.
Oh no! Imagine having ads in your dreams.
This
That's-
dream brought to you by Taco Bell.
Oh, not well. Okay, that would because it's in your head. That would be smell and taste. That would
Oh,
be that would
yeah.
be the best ad, not just this assault on
You know?
your outer senses. I need if you really want me to go to Taco Bell, you need to remind me how good Taco Bell tastes.
Yeah.
Because just thinking about it, I can get close, but if you make me think about it, and if you do whatever you need to do in the in neural space,
Yeah.
then make me taste it.
Ooh.
Or if you make me taste it, is that a market substitution? And then further, if we expound upon that, will tastes become copyrighted?
Ooh.
I don't think you can copyright a taste. You can't
You can-
technically copyright a smell. You can copyright like perfume, or that's
Right,
it's
you
patenting,
can-
but yeah.
It's patented because like Coke, the Coke formula is like protected.
Yep.
Copyright law is so weird, and there's a whole thing with Dungeons and Dragons about copyright law that I've lost the plot for. But I do think if people can maybe like the electrical impulse pattern, they'll be able to like patent that as unique kind of blockchain style, where this is like a 100% unique electrical impulse pattern that can induce Y feeling.
But wouldn't that be unique for everyone?
Probably.
So
Ooh,
then
yeah.
how could you?
That's a good point, yeah.
That's so maybe taste a taste is not copyrightable. It's not protectable. It cannot be intellectual property because it depends on the individual's intellectual bits.
Yes.
In the same way, so there's got to be a line between, because I guess when you copyright, let's say you have a movie,
Yeah.
you're not really copywriting the like seeing the movie. You're copywriting like the actual
Yeah. The product itself.
right. You're not copywriting the images as they come off of a projector screen. You're not right. It's
Yeah.
it's the movie, which I can't really grasp right now, like what the difference is between the movie and the movie.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean.
Right, like if you were
Who
to
owns what part?
if you were like if you have a photographic memory and you play a movie back in your head, are you committing piracy?
At least not this year. When the metaverse is real, we'll all be arrested.
Oof. Yeah.
Except I don't
even
think it
then-
will, because they fired like 75% of the people who worked for that.
Yeah. And I mean, and that was just that was silly. I don't know how he thought that was not going to be the cringest thing possible. Right.
Well, because there was no one like you to tell him that was the cringest thing possible.
You think Mark Zuckerberg surrounds himself with complacent yes men?
Oh, definitely. I think
Okay.
that's how you get to be $400 billion or something deep in a project that's not going to go anywhere, that's not any better than VR chat.
I hope that those billions of dollars went, somewhere good. Just to people. Just
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
They went to someone, yeah. I mean, the people who worked on it for, the amount of time, they probably still got paid for the amount of work that they did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if the metaverse can't let me be Ugandan Knuckles like 5 years after that was funny, it's not offering me anything new.
No. Didn't they just add legs?
Yeah, Legs
Yeah.
was supposed to be like a big old fun addition.
That's unfortunate. I mean, and it's I'm trying to think, like, the big players in the social media space are they all hemorrhaging money? We know Facebook is. We know Twitter is. So that's most of them.
That's most of them. Instagram is probably doing okay just because
Instagram is owned by Meta.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So Meta is still hemorrhaging money, but Instagram, I think, is the only thing they're trying to hold on to. But at the same time, they're trying to be TikTok, and I think if you're trying to be a different social media website, you're not doing great.
Yeah. I mean, everyone was trying to copy Snap Stories for a while.
Oh,
Everyone still is copying Snap Stories, which is
yes,
fascinating.
it is.
I mean, I guess it's a decent feature, but
I think it's all of the appeal of a tweet without the permanency of it.
yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
And I think Reddit's still doing okay by virtue of not being the other things. I think if you are a source website, you do okay. So, like, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram all make their content with screenshots from either Reddit or Instagram, or from Reddit or Tumblr. And those two sites, because they are complete individuals, they're doing okay. But yeah, like, I think I want to say, no, Twitch is doing bad too, because there are a bunch of streamers that are leaving Twitch to go stream on YouTube instead, because the Twitch subscription model / money divvying structure is horrible.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of people who are fleeing. I don't think any of the big ones are actually going to move, though. There's no way Twitch is going to let them leave.
Oh yeah, it definitely depends.
Yeah.
And it depends on what kind of stuff they have set up.
And it's interesting, you never really think of YouTube as a competitor to Twitch, because Twitch really had the live stream market locked down, and other competitors have come and gone. And when they gone hard, right? Yeah. So it was what was it? What was it? Mixer, whatever the one Microsoft bought.
Oh yeah,
and ruined.
Yeah. I forgot about that one, which says a lot about what it was bringing to the table.
Yeah. And what was I mean, there are a couple of YouTube competitors, but there have been a couple of YouTube competitors just in the past couple of years that have risen and fallen. Library TV, Odyssey is fledgling. Vimeo's only really successful in the corporate space.
Yeah, it's helpful if you want to embed video without having to be catering to like the whims of YouTube content stuff.
Yep.
So it's good as a hosting site, but I think a lot of people are also just using like S3 buckets to do that.
Yeah. I think, but apart from that, I don't know that there's actually perhaps the only competitor that can actually do anything about YouTube is TikTok. But unfortunately, they've positioned themselves as only competing against YouTube Shorts and winning. But it's, that's fascinating.
Ooh,
but
yeah, and I think even YouTube still has the upper edge because there's more money, because politicians aren't trying to like lock down YouTube for being a Chinese plant. And the pay structure is better. YouTube has more money, so they're able to give Shorts creators a lot more money than TikTok can.
Well, they've just started doing that, so we'll see.
True. Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
I can't believe it took them so long to do that.
Correct. Yeah, I think if you want to be a competitor and you want to attract the big names on TikTok, that should have been like the first thing you were doing.
Yeah. I think it's nice that I don't have to install TikTok to consume that kind of content. Yes. I don't know anything about Instagram Reels, which are roughly the same thing, but when I think of Instagram, I don't think about this, and I never will, and no one should. But
yeah,
if you go to the YouTube Shorts tab, at least for like the first 4 or 5 of them, the algorithm does a good job, and then you start getting garbage. But the point of the matter is that okay, I don't have to. I already have the YouTube app installed, right? That's great.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go give my passwords to Tencent or ByteDance, right? So
yeah. And I like that YouTube has curated compilations, so I don't have to sift through the algorithm myself. I can just find someone who's doing a good enough job that I can just go with what their compilations are, and that'll generally get me what I need.
Ah, yes, the most cringe TikToks 2023 compilation number 10. Oh yeah,
TikToks that make me scream and throw up.
Yes, and there are. And it's incredible how they can operate at that scale.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. They have it's like a day per hour they get uploaded to it, at least, if that might even be an old number. And now they support up to 8K content.
Wow.
8K 60 frames a second. So if you think about how much data that is,
that's too high of resolution.
For now. I don't know that anything's gonna. I mean, they make 8K displays. I don't think it's going to pop into mainstream until there is a viable, until there's a reason, because 4K is already really good, and you can tell the difference between 1080p and 4K. Absolutely. I don't know that you can tell the difference between 4K and 8K as readily.
Probably not. I wonder if it gets so high resolution that we'll kind of drift back into the Uncanny Valley again. For just watching regular TV. I'll watch theme songs, and the theme songs will be 60 frames a second and 4K, which is so much to try and process.
Yeah.
And so I think seeing a person like that would freak me out. I would think it was a video game. Which I think isn't helped by the obsession with trying to look a certain way.
How do you mean?
You have pores on your face, right? And maybe it's just a girl thing, but they're obsessed with trying to make pores look as small as possible to get, I think, what's called glass skin. And it's just pristine. It's smooth. It's weird. And it's a little inhuman. I think imperfections are important, and it's something that I'm starting to appreciate a lot more of just I can't process it if it's too symmetrical. Yeah.
And I think that's, I mean, as you look at video games and how they're getting more and more real, it's because the technology is there that they can add more detail and further imperfections, right? You look at some video game models and you can actually see the pores on their face. And so from a distance, even though it is kind of imperceivable, you can still tell. You can still tell. And some of the best games have those details. Are just starting to. Because we're getting the processing power and the shading tricks in order to do that.
Insane.
I never understood the whole glass skin thing when Face App first came out, or whatever these the camera apps that are also made in China, which is also a fascinating cultural thing that I don't know much about, but the ones that will beautify your face and and fix that, which is basically just it's not even AI, it's just blurring certain things and adding a glow. I never understood that. I can understand Photoshop to clear larger abnormalities, but it's not the human countenance. If you mess with it, it's built in to be able to distinguish a face. And I think, and I believe that's why it's called the Uncanny Valley, because if you mess with that model, it starts to get weird.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't a Vsauce video. I think it was a Vsauce short. Babies can see if you put bright lights and you show them something while they're in utero. I believe what it was is they showed a pair, a grouping of 3 lights in a triangle, 1 on top, 2 on bottom, and it didn't really evoke a reaction. But when they turned it upside down, 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom, so it kind of resembled a face, they got a reaction. That's how ingrained, right? It's probably an animal thing because you have to see faces to defend yourself. That's why we're so good at picking out. Have you ever seen like stone tiling and you can see faces in them?
Oh, all the time.
I do that all the time in my shower. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, and because it's tile, you know, it's not weird, but because the context is human and you start smoothing out those, you know, every imperfection, not just the bad ones that you'd be like, yeah, maybe we can Photoshop out the, you know, the wine stain or something. I don't know. But like,
the Uncanny Valley, I love it. It freaks me out in the best way. And two of my favorite examples are Local 58 and the Mandela Catalog. So Local 58, there's an episode, I think either called Sleep Practice or like it's sleep something. But it's basically like, oh, we're going to help you go to sleep, you know, look at this dot, and it'll show faces on either side, and it'll like flash it, and eventually the faces will look distorted, like the mouths are upside down or the eyes are two different sizes. But if you look at either side, you know, they look normal. But after a while, you'll start hearing this voice say in a very like low monotone, there are no faces. And it's incredible. It's one of my favorite things ever. And then the Mandela Catalog, all of the images in that are distorted faces, and it's incredible. It freaks me out, but it's great. I love spooky things like that. It exists right in the range where it makes me uncomfortable, but I don't want it to stop. Because there are definitely things where I'm like, I'm uncomfortable and I want to leave. But then there are those things where I'm like, I have to keep watching so I can understand the whole thing. Do you feel some sort of way when you see something like a liminal space in real life? Depends.
Not even in real life.
Yeah. I do. I feel them more if there are accompanying sounds. If it's just an image, I don't feel too much. But like there's a movie that came out called Skinamarink, and it would show long shots of dark hallways. And there's like really, really old television or movie static in the background. And that's where it makes me feel a certain way, because it increases the feeling of not being alone.
Okay.
So if there's audio, I feel it. If it's just visual, I don't as much.
Okay. All right. I suppose that makes sense. Are you familiar? I assume you're familiar with the whole backrooms idea.
Love the backrooms.
Those are really good. They are almost the kind of liminal space that just really creams my corn. It's, I think, and I've been thinking about making some of this effect. I think like I really enjoy spaces that usually have a bunch of people in them, but they're completely desolate. Yeah. Driving back from Florida a couple weeks ago, we stopped in Indianapolis, and they just leave the convention center open because it's part of the Skyway. You can walk through it. And it was completely deserted. And the hallways and they had the ballroom open because they were setting it up for something, but no one was actively working on it. So it was just this huge room. And then the hallways, like the big place where people are supposed to mill about and go to the exhibit halls and the meeting rooms and things like that. Massive, huge, and no one was in there. It's so cool. So cool.
I love that.
And I feel the same way about malls too. I think that's one of the big reasons I just going to a mall when it's deserted. Driving through Minneapolis, I got to go to the Mall of America like 3 times in the span of 24 hours. It was that much fun. But the second time, we had just gotten out of a Benihana, and they had seated us late. So we got out late, and the mall was closed. But you had to go through the mall to get out to the parking garage. And if you don't know, the Mall of America has an amusement park in the middle.
Yeah.
A Nickelodeon amusement park. It was dark. It was so cool. The entire thing was dark. And then we went there the next morning, but before any of the stores opened. But we heard the music turn on. Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That stuff just kind of frosts my flakes, and I don't know what it's called. But anytime I can get a chance to like experience something like that, it's like, yeah, that's cool.
I feel that about hotels.
Mm.
I am an absolute slut for hotels.
Hmm.
Like the really long hallways
Oh yeah.
where you can't hear anything and it's freezing and the carpet has that pattern where if you look at it too long it kind of starts to move. It's ooh, I
Hmm.
love hotels.
Who do you think designs hotel carpets? Because they're very like. There's got to be a massive amount of science that goes into what hotel carpets look like and how that's evolved over the years, even.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, if you go to a really old hotel, the carpet's definitely going to be different than a new one. I think what you might notice is older hotels. This is just a shot in the dark. I have nothing to back this up.
Yeah,
But I think
this whole thing
older
is.
hotels will probably have, if they haven't been updated, will probably have warmer colors, warmer autumn colors. So you'll probably see more reds, browns, and golds. Whereas newer hotels will probably have lots of blues and greens,
Hmm.
because of the psychology that blues and greens are much more calming than reds are.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it makes it feel fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if hotel carpets all follow whatever color scheme the parent company has.
Hmm.
So, like, Hampton carpet might be different from, like, a Best Western carpet.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine that's true. Yeah. Um. But yeah, I agree with the whole hotel thing. That is because it's like there's a lot of people here, but you can see none of them.
Yeah.
They're all doing their own thing. They're all in parallel. They're all just passing through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to, like, show that something is off.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get to a place that should have people, but there are no people.
Yep.
And you get that more at, like, 3 in the morning than, because, like, I think people just stay up later and later.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, 3 in the morning in any space is just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best.
I once, not by choice, ended up staying up until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And it's such a cold hour. I don't know what
Mm.
it is about that. And it was freezing and the sounds are weird. There's there's a lot of content that I just had to stop watching because I was like, I can see through the Ring camera that we don't have and it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like and I live in historic on historic Argyle Street, and after 11 o'clock, deserted. There's usually so many
Yeah.
people just kind of out and about. You know, it's a bustling. It's Little Vietnam, and
Yeah.
it's
Can you stop? Stop. Yeah. Don't scratch the door again. See if it
silly
works.
cat. the We are going on a cruise in April, and I
Ooh.
personally cannot wait to explore the ship in the dead of night or at early dawn when there are very few people walking around. That is
Cruise
going
ships
to
get weird.
cruise ships do get weird. I have like handheld video camera footage that my dad took, just meandering the ship in the early morning before anyone else woke up.
That's
From
so
like
cool.
I want to say 2001. Oh man, it's just doing stuff like that is so cool, and just experiencing things like that. And I don't know what kind of itch that tickles in my head, or if there's something in the DSM-5 that explains it. But boy, is it cool.
Yeah. I recently had an evaluation done through the DSM-5,
Hmm.
which was a lot less complicated than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just because what I ended up getting a read on. But the psychologist will literally just sit there and be like, do these statements resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
And depending on like what quantity, they'll just be like, this is probably what you have.
Yeah, no, that's all they can do, really, right?
Yeah.
Like, they've made these buckets, these categories. There's significant overlap because it is a very messy science.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's it's real, and it all has to be self-reported. There's nothing, they can't like take an
Right.
X-ray of your head and be like, ah, yes, you have this.
You have X, yeah. No, because she spent like the first time just like asking questions, asking me to like explain why I was there and what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I think it was the second or third. Because they do want to reach like what it is as soon as possible, because that makes it easiest to like figure out how to treat it and how to help it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird kind of trippy thing where it's like, huh, okay, so yeah, we can just put a word to that, sure. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's, kind of satisfying in a way,
It
like,
is.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, the fact that someone somewhere at some point was able to put a shape, right, around what it is that you're experiencing, and there are some things that half explain it, but there's one thing that fully explains it, and there's a name for it. Good.
It's real good. Not being the first person to have a thing is way easier. It's why anytime I'm asked to just pick a number, I go with 4. You can't go wrong with 4. It's a low enough number that whatever bad is happening can probably take it. It's a low enough number that even if it's a good thing, it's like, it's nice and it doesn't feel overwhelming.
Yeah. There you go. And 4 is a good number.
Yeah.
It's a power of 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a safe number.
It feels safe.
It's like we're gonna execute everyone in order. What number do you want to be? Like 4. How many kids you want to have? 4. It's like it's a number you can live with.
Yeah, you can handle it.
How many months left do you want to live? 4.
Like
it's short, but that's more time than
3.
Yeah. Less than 6, but hey, a lot can happen in 4 months.
That is true. That is true.
You don't have to die. Speaking of dying, we saw Puss in Boots 2. That was a legitimately good movie.
This is the last one they're making, right?
Yeah, the one that just came out. And it's baffling that the sequel to a spin-off of a franchise built out of spite that has gone on for way too long is so good.
It was built out of spite?
Shrek? Oh yeah. Shrek was built out of so much spite.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so DreamWorks, I can't remember if it was... No, I'm thinking of Pixar. But basically, DreamWorks was just like the anti-Disney in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, so I think DreamWorks was originally founded by Spielberg, asterisk, may be wrong there, but Shrek was the product of, I believe, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who left Disney, or was fired from Disney, by Michael Eisner. So Shrek is just a massive parody of all things Disney. Lord Farquaad, whose name sounds like fuckwad, is meant to look like Michael Eisner, and he's short because Michael Eisner was like 6'5" or something.
Nice. That I gotta watch the movie again, knowing that. That's
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so like Duloc is a parody of Disney World, Disneyland, and the song that they sing when they first get there is a parody of It's a Small World After All.
Wow. I can't believe this didn't occur to me before.
It's a thing that you watch it growing up, and yeah, it's just like a funny movie. And then you go through all the weird phases, and then you go back and you read the history, and I'm like, oh no, this is actually really interesting. The whole like upper echelon at Disney stuff from like the 1980s to today is just very interesting.
Yes. Yeah. That's funny. That's good. Good for them. I'm glad they got a successful franchise out of that.
They were making Shrek at the same time, I want to say, as Prince of Egypt.
Really?
Yes, I think they were being made at the same time. And it was like bad animators get to go down to the basement to work on Shrek.
But Shrek looks so good.
It does. It's one of the, like, maybe not the first, but certainly the first CG movie that looked good. Because, like, Toy Story 1 looks rough. That baby is scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one just in terms of visual quality, did not age well at all.
Yeah.
But while you were watching it looked fine, right? Like, that was impressive what they were able to do when they did it. And now it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, and I think what helps Toy Story is the fact they are all toys and we don't see humans very much. And so by the time even Toy Story 2 came around, it looked so much better. But yeah, Shrek looks really good. Princess Fiona looks very lifelike, not disturbing at all.
No. They were able to come right to the Uncanny Valley, but not dive into it. I think if they went any further with the realism, it would have been a little right, because
like
especially with the faces. They went really real with the faces, but not so real that you had to go cry.
Yeah, that was the Polar Express. I don't know why they gave that movie to children.
Yeah, that's baffling.
Which I'm curious if the Christmas Carol that they made a few years later, if it looks any better. Because I think it's done in the same style, but like Jim Carrey plays everyone in that. It's that kind of CG again. And I assume it did okay in the looks department because we're not talking about how creepy it is now.
I don't know if it was as popular, so maybe we don't talk about it because of that.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually forgot all about that movie, and I can only really picture Scrooge from it, and it's hard to make Scrooge look realistic just because his features are so pronounced. But they tried. Yes. You can tell with the wrinkles that they tried. And they did motion capture, right, for that?
Yes.
All the motion seems incredibly lifelike and not keyframed. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell from that as well.
Keyframes are important. They're so important. Because, I think... I watched the big, long video about why Cats, the movie, was so bad. And it had something to do with Tom Hooper just not understanding anything about anything. But one of the big things was, like, the animation piece. The suits, or however he wanted to film it, just didn't work for how the animating process was supposed to go. And then they gave the animators no time at all to work with nothing. Yeah. And gosh.
Well.
Thankfully, I saw Uncut Gems in February before everything shut down. So Cats was not the last movie I saw in theaters.
That's good. I think it was the last one I saw. And it was immediately following the last Star Wars film. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, those both came out at Christmas.
Yep. I pulled a double feature right before I left town, and that was the last movie I had seen before everything shut down. I went to see Tenet in theaters. That was in September 2020, I think. But for 9 months, that was those were the last two films that I saw, and that was so.
Yeah, we're actually getting out to the theaters to start watching things again. We have one in relatively close driving distance that pulls in some pretty cool stuff. Like, we're actually going to get to see like international films. And I remember that was a novelty. Like, I didn't have it growing up, but I also didn't really know much about international films growing up. But having the option is really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because they don't... I think until Parasite came out, they really didn't get any kind of attention.
Yeah.
And now people are realizing, at the very least, some Asian cinema is pretty cool. The other two booming movie industries, Bollywood will never have traction here, and the Nigerian cinema, which I understand is pretty big too.
That's
legendary. I don't think we'll ever have traction here, but boy, is it interesting.
Yeah. There was a big, and I don't want to say if it's Bollywood or not, because I know that it matters if it's like north or south, but RRR made it to Netflix, and everyone was really excited about that. And it's supposed to be really good.
Okay. Well, hey, yeah.
You got to set aside the time for it. It's 3 hours.
Oh.
And then I think Nigerian films are like 8 hours long.
Oh.
Because, and maybe, I think I just heard this as a one-off, so this is another big asterisk. But Nigerian cinema can sometimes be really useful for women while they're having their hair braided, because that is like a whole day process. But these movies will fill that time. because they go on for hours.
Alternatively, you could just watch 2 movies.
Yes, you could binge a whole television show.
Yeah. Like, what could you say in 8 hours?
In 8 hours...
That's so long. That's so much content.
It is, but
most video editors won't let you go that high. They stop at 8.
I mean, that's 13 episodes of, like, 24-minute episode length things, and I have tons of shows that I've watched that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's, yeah. That's so long. I can't even imagine sitting in one place for... I struggle to watch just a regular Hollywood movie. You know, I see I see it's more than 120 minutes, and I'm like, oh no. But I really want to see it, but oh no.
Yeah, it's something that I'm starting to feel, because we're going to see Broker tomorrow, and that's a South Korean film, and it's 129 minutes, and I'm like, that we're seeing it at 6:15. We'll be out before 9.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's it's there. I should probably look at this more. But at some point in history, movies went from, you know, they kept increasing in length.
Yeah.
But I wonder if, like, sometime in the 40s, if they took a steep uptick.
Possibly.
Just colloquially, just browsing movies, I feel like, you know, they went from, like, you know, small little silent things to full-blown Hollywood exists now, and MGM is going to pay for all the film, don't you worry. Yeah,
because they had better cameras. They could have more film in at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, going to the movies became more of a thing. So you would have movies like Gone with the Wind that came out in 1939 that's like 4 hours long, but there's an intermission in the meantime. And there were a ton of movies with intermissions. And in the, like, 60s, dozens of movies had intermissions, but a lot of them were based on stage shows or musicals. So they had that intermission built into it. But even a movie like The Great Race, which isn't even all that long, still had an intermission, because it was just like you went to go do stuff. Honestly, people probably took a smoke break in the middle of it, but that's what that was for. But yeah, but then I think the 70s rolled around, and it was like a back to gritty, realist, like, auteur stuff. So I think that I would say the runtimes maybe got a little shorter then. But it could also be that they just got cheaper in the 70s.
Well, maybe. I don't. Yeah. I mean, again, I really have no idea. It's just something that I've offhandedly noticed. But it was yeah, that could be true.
Yeah, there were just a ton of big spectacle movies in the 60s. Stuff like Lawrence of Arabia, Cleopatra, Ben-Hur. Those stuff were long. Ben-Hur is also very gay, but they didn't tell one of the actors. Like, I can't remember if it was Charlton Heston that didn't know, but, like, one of the characters was definitely playing his role as if the character were gay, because that's how the subtext reads. And it's honestly more compelling that way. Ben-Hur also takes a weird detour at, like, the 80% mark into the story of Jesus. We weren't ready. I was expecting just, like, you know, Ben-Hur. I didn't know what to expect with Ben-Hur, but I wasn't expecting Jesus at the 11th hour.
Yeah, they made movies, and they were they were.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, I go back and forth on whether I want movies to, like, jerk the rug out from under people, but you kind of have to telegraph that, otherwise people get mad about false advertising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. But it's really hard to surprise people anymore.
Yeah, memes get made out of the pivotal moments.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, but I think people are expecting plot twists at this point.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And at this point, you're somewhat able to figure out how a movie is going to try and surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting easier and easier. Yeah.
They want to find the subversion before it happens. They want to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm. Or just want to look clever.
Yeah. I mean, there is some merit that, like, you enjoy the thing more if you know what happens, because you can't, like, your emotions don't get in the way of whatever revelation happens.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, no. But a thing people can expect is an ad read.
Oh, that's right. Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because today's episode of Steaming Pile is brought to you by aluminum. Now, hang on. Before we get too carried away with, aluminum, it's super recyclable, it's lightweight, it's, it makes, it's what planes are made out of, right? This is not the space that aluminum wants to get into, right? Aluminum is desperate to try to attract younger people, a younger audience, right? And to that end, they are trying to break into the ASMR route. So, I have here an aluminum can, and they asked me to do this. They asked me to, do the aluminum can in ASMR, and also do their slogan. Now, it's controversial where this slogan started. Some people think that Groucho thought of it, but no, aluminum gave it to Groucho. So here we go. I have to do this ad read right, or we don't get the money. Here we go. You can what you can, and what you can't, you put into little jars. So thank you to aluminum for that lovely advertisement. If you ever need to store something in a thing, don't think glass, think aluminum.
Well, I'll definitely think aluminum. I'm going to go shatter this right now. Thank you, aluminum. And you can find the audio file for the aluminum ASMR coming soon to our OnlyFans.
Oh, yes.
That's the only thing that's going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
We're not sellouts. We're just opportunists.
There's a difference.
That's why we're taking the opportunity 5 years after that platform became a thing.
Exactly.
We had to decide. We didn't want to just, put it up there. We weren't feet pick people. We weren't...
No.
Yeah. No. So we had to do what we had to do. But thank you to aluminum.
Thank you, aluminum.
And it's nice to know that at the bottom of a steaming pile there is something recyclable. So we'll be sure to, pick that up and put it in the recycling.
Yes. Yes. They say single stream, but is it really?
It is now. I don't know anything about processing materials, but maybe I'll learn by next time.
I don't think anyone knows anything about processing materials. Most of our plastic gets shipped to China.
Yeah.
Not our aluminum, though. Aluminum's easy.
No.
Thanks, aluminum.
Why don't we just go back to aluminum?
I don't know, because it's harder to work with.
Maybe.
I don't know if it's more expensive, but I don't know. It's easier to recycle, though. And glass, too.
Yeah, the reason we moved away from glass is just because it breaks.
That's true.
And so they lose money in transit.
Yeah.
But aluminum.
Aluminum.
We'll see what the world is next time. This has been Steaming Pile with Lauren and Tucker. I've been Lauren.
And I have been Tucker.
And we'll see you all next time.